If you want a woman to stay attracted to you long term, you need to understand this one important thing. The same things that make you look like a good boyfriend are the same things killing her desire for you. I know this because I've had hundreds of men and I see the same pattern repeatedly. So, in this video, I'll break down the three levels of keeping attraction alive, why each one works, when they fail, and the deeper idea that makes all of this unnecessary once you really embrace it. And by the end, you won't just get the strategies, you'll also understand the shift from men trying to keep her to a man she's trying to keep. All right, so let me first show you what narrow thinking is in relationships. Narrow thinking is trying to use logic to make a woman desire you. She says she's upset, so you explain why she should be happy. She pulls away from you, so you chase harder to prove that you care. She loses interest, so you make yourself more available or just try to get her flowers to win her back. It's always the same pattern. You treat feelings like problems to solve with logic. But here's the missing piece: everything is emotional for her, so no amount of logic is going to change how she fundamentally feels. In fact, the more you try to talk her out of her feelings, the more frustrated she becomes. So narrow thinking only sees one side of the field. You can only see your own side. I'm being a good boyfriend, so she should appreciate me. But you can't see what she's feeling. He's always around, always agreeing with me, always there for me. There's no excitement or space for me to miss him. I'm just bored of going for dinner every Friday and then going to bed frustrated. So the sign of narrow thinking is that you stop thinking too soon. You hit the limit of what feels logical and then you defend that idea without asking if it's actually working in your relationship. Successful men do this all the time. They take logic that works in business and they try to force it into relationships where it doesn't actually fit. So let's talk about what smart thinking really looks like in relationships. And in essence, you could see it as the ability to hold uncomfortable truths even when they shake your idea of yourself as a good or nice guy. It's understanding the deeper patterns of desire instead of just knowing surface level dating fluff. And most importantly, it's the ability to keep thinking straight when your ego wants to defend what you're already doing. Think about the first time you heard your favorite song. It probably gave you goosebumps, right? You couldn't get it out of your head for weeks. But a few months later, you hear it in the elevator and it feels like background noise. You know every note by heart. It just doesn't hit the same anymore. The spark of excitement is just gone. And the exact same thing happens when you're with a woman 24 hours a day. You just drain her imagination. You become predictable. You leave no empty space for her to actually miss or fantasize about you. Being too familiar leads to boredom and eventually disrespect because that spark that she felt for you in the beginning just dies away. And to understand this fully, I'll tell you about my first serious relationship because it will probably hit home for a lot of you. I was so blindly in love that I canceled plans with friends just to hang out with this girl. I moved around my schedule to fit her plans and routine. I started to give up things like the gym, the work projects, the friend group, all the things that made me attractive to her in the first place. At the time, it made total sense to me. I thought, oh, this is what love should look like. You just make sacrifices. But here's what I didn't see: I wasn't just giving up my time, I was giving up who I was fundamentally. I became like a moon just orbiting her world instead of having my own presence. And the worst part is that she wasn't even asking me to do this. I did it to myself, thinking it would make her love me more. But it actually did the opposite, really. So the biggest lesson I took is very simple: keep your own social life. Hold on to your hobbies, your friendships, your interests, even when you're in love. These aren't distractions from the relationship. They're actually, as counterintuitive as maybe it is to some of you, it's the base of what makes you desired and respected. Your time is your most valuable asset. So never break yourself in half for someone who's still protecting her own time and is way less invested than you. Now, keeping your own life is great, but there's a deeper layer, and I call it engaging distance. Distance is what gives a woman space to miss you. It intensifies all of her existing feelings. It raises how much she values and respects you. And by creating space for short periods, you can break the clingy habit and make your return feel truly memorable. You want your presence to feel so valuable, it never actually feels like a burden to her. But here's where most guys mess this up. They think, oh, absence makes the heart grow fonder and then disappear for a week or two, thinking she'll come running back, falling on her knees and laugh. But instead, she just moves on. Why? Well, think about it. Engaging distance only intensifies what's already there. If she was already emotionally signed out because you had no value outside of the relationship, distance doesn't magically manufacture real desire. It just confirms to you that she doesn't care. This is the difference between knowing on the one hand and understanding on another. Knowing is I should be less available and have a life, but understanding is distance works when I'm actually busy fulfilling my purpose, not when I'm faking a role while obsessing over her. So here's the shift in thinking, very simply put. Level one is the follower. This is the I should always be there for her because that's what good boyfriends do, right? Level two is the individual. So I should create distance to make her miss me. And level three is the master. So I should have a life so interesting that distance happens naturally and not deliberately or intentionally. You don't create engaging distance. You simply stop sacrificing your purpose to win her approval. Picture a rubber band sitting on a table, right? What good is it? It's loose and powerless. It has no influence. But once you stretch both ends and attention to it, it actually holds things together. Tension in a relationship works exactly the same way. Feelings that most people call bad, like jealousy or insecurity, are actually like seasonings in the right amounts. They keep your relationship from going flat. This is what I call seductive tension because it's the art of creating tension through your tone, your words, and your behavior. On the surface, this might seem a little shady, and it can be if you have bad intentions. But here's the truth: women use these moves all the time without even thinking. Think about it. Women hate boredom but love drama. They want to feel something all of the time. It fits their emotional design. If you're totally perfect and always keeping the peace, she's going to create that drama herself by manufacturing problems out of thin air. So the better strategy is to keep things interesting by breaking up these four predictable patterns. You want to tease her often, you want to call out questionable or disrespectful behavior, show social proof, that means she sees other women are interested in you. And lastly, you want to keep leveling up your game through your purpose and your social life. The more she sees your value through other people's reactions and not your own, the more powerful you are in her eyes. This plants a seed of opposition in her mind that makes her even more invested in you. But there's levels to it. If desirable tension turns into constant fighting, it can backfire. So when you're not controlling how unpredictable you are, you're going to create distrust. And a guy who creates drama isn't attractive either. So the difference is, of course, in the details. Healthy tension is he has options, he has standards, and he'll walk away if I disrespect him. Destructive noise is he picks fights for no reason, he's emotionally unstable, and he's addicted to chaos. Now, the pattern across all three levels is very clear. Keeping your own life fails when you're never around. Distance fails when you have no value. Tension fails when there's no base of respect. They all need the same core ingredient, which is self actualization. What is self actualization? Well, let's zoom out for a moment and see how this pattern shows up literally everywhere. If you're the worker who's always available, for example, you get passed over for promotions. But if you have options and confidence, you can actually win long term respect. If you're a fitness freak, for example, training every day seems totally hardcore, but it breaks down your muscles. So, rest is what actually fuels growth. If you're a desperate salesman who keeps canceling uninterested clients, you kill the deal. But once there is demand, you're absolutely unstoppable. You see the same idea across every niche of life. Need pushes people away, while abundance consistently pulls them in. When I looked like this, 100 pounds obese, approval seeking was my default. I looked for validation everywhere in friendships, work, you name it. I was nice but dishonest because I was insecure within myself. You can't be insecure and honest. I was lazy because I had low self respect. I said yes to everything, covering shifts at work, canceling plans, and remaining comfortable because rejection was painful. For me, the pattern wasn't even about relationships. It was about knowing my base value. When I lost 100 pounds and got in the best shape of my life, everything changed seemingly overnight, but not quite. I worked harder, I spoke calmer, and I stopped seeking approval. I had tangible standards from experience. And suddenly, as you would expect, women were actually turning their heads. But so were better friends, better opportunities, better lifestyle, better everything, because the real transformation wasn't about pickup or tactics or game. None of this bullshit, really. It was about becoming self actualized. You understand yourself inside out. You know your potential and value inside out. A man who doesn't need outside approval naturally creates the conditions for irresistible and lasting desire and attraction. But here's what most guys still seem to forget. You learn these three strategies like having your own life, engaging distance, seductive tension, and you think, okay, I'll use these to keep her attracted. But that's still narrow thinking. Because the real question is, why did you need to learn them in the first place? Well, it's because you gave up your life when you got into the relationship, because you got swept up in love and stopped checking if she was actually the right woman for you. You ignored red flags like her sexual past, her core values, the disrespectful ways she acted towards you. You made excuses for those things as accepting her flaws. But here's what I learned the hard way. And take a note of this. In my first relationship, I agreed to doing long distance, even though deep down it felt wrong. I was too attached to think clearly. And to top it all off, I missed the biggest warning sign. Our core values didn't even line up, but I was too in love to even acknowledge that or accept it. I was too invested in making it work to ask myself if it even should work. So the relationship totally fell apart. And then that was the moment it really hit me. These strategies don't exist to trick women into staying with you or fall in love with you. They exist to show you whether she's worth holding on to. Engaging distance shows you if she respects your time. Seductive tension shows you if she can handle a man with standards. Maintaining your own life and independence shows you if she values you for who you are or just for what you give her. So the real identity shift is simple. You think you're learning how to keep her attracted to you or desired, but actually you're learning to build a life so valuable, not on the outside, but within, that her leaving wouldn't destroy you. The strategies truly work when you genuinely don't need them. So here's the final truth I want you to understand. All three strategies work because a woman wants a man who is self actualized and doesn't need her to stand on his own 2 feet. Not a man who leaves her or creates chaos, but a man who genuinely chooses her from a place of strength and not desperation. Because before this video, you probably thought you were a good guy, but really you are just out of touch with what women actually respond to and how desire actually works. The next time you feel uncomfortable with these ideas, sit with that discomfort. See that your ego wants to feel safe by holding on to your identity as the good guy, but that identity is what is keeping you stuck. Women already use these patterns naturally. By refusing to learn them, you're not being real with yourself. You're choosing to stay in the dark. The men who win aren't learning manipulation or deception. They're simply getting back to their natural power, their natural essence. They're learning to earn respect and desire without arguing, showing off, or being performative or needy. And that's not about keeping her hooked. It's about becoming a man worth being hooked on by a very desirable woman. So that's it for today, my friends. I'm going to close off this episode right here. As always, if you want a personalized roadmap to implement these things in your own life and actually have incredible relationships, you can click the first link in my bio and book a connection call with yours truly. And as always, my friends, have a blessed day and I'll see you soon. Take care.